Hey, everybody, welcome back to another edition of Discount Paranormal. I'm Tim with Justin.
How's it going, everybody?
Okay, guys, and on our return episode, we have been gone a little bit, but
Just a wee bit.
who cares? Nobody cares. We wanted to jump right into a living legend. I say that with a question? A question mark? Because I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I want to believe, like Krampus. I want to believe.
Krampus.
Like Krampus. Now, who comes to mind when we say that living legend? Wrong.
Bruce Campbell.
Wrong again. It's Bigfoot, you idiot. So where do we begin with such like a beloved creature? Because it is a beloved creature, right?
Oh yeah, for
It's
sure.
It's one of those cryptids that like nobody really is afraid of. Like in your mind when you think of it. I mean, I'm sure if you're in like the woods and it's like fucking Bigfoot is like making noises and throwing rocks and stuff at you, you're like, oh god.
Yeah. Oh, it's also one of those creatures too, dude, where it's not like ghosts where you can kind of be on the fence with it.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I don't know. They might exist, they might not. Like Bigfoot, it's pretty polarizing. It's either yes or no. There's no in between.
Yeah, I think it's for me. It's more like I do, but it's like I mean, I guess maybe I am on the fence a little bit because it's like I do want to believe it. I do.
Yeah,
it's not like one of those things like a chupacabra where I can give two shits if it's real or not. Yeah, but Bigfoot, like I want it to be real. I want it to be real. I mean, like think about it this way: they didn't discover like gorillas until like the 1920s.
yeah. Well, Western.
Well, yeah. I mean, unless you
Western.
live in the like in a rainforest or whatever wherever they live, you would know, and so that's a very small percentage of the world
Well,
that
dude,
knew they
like
were
there
real.
was like for instance, like talk about like knowing what creatures are where you live.
Mm-hmm.
There was this a few years ago, but there was a fish that modern science was 100%. It wasn't wasn't that bonefish. No, it wasn't that one. It was a different fish. And they were like, oh, this thing has been extinct for 500 million years, kind of thing.
Oh, sure.
There was a damn tribe who eat them every day.
Oh.
They fish them, and they're like, what the hell do you think? They've always been here.
Yeah.
It was just like their pattern, like their living area moved.
Oh, like their migration pattern and all that.
Like their central area. I mean, like
where they spawn.
It's not on this. Yeah, they're not in the Pacific anymore. They were over in like I think it was like the Indian Ocean or something.
Well, that makes sense with continental drift, and
there's nobody going to these tribes.
Sure,
because that's what it was. It was like this little town or this little tribe. Nobody from the West ever bothered to go there and ask them what was going on.
Right. Well, I mean, it's like the gorilla thing. It's like they found the gorillas. And I may be wrong, but in like the early 1900s, and then like immediately after, like, well, what if he was 500 feet tall and they made King Kong?
Yeah,
it was like within like 10 years they were like, let's just make a giant gorilla monster. So it's kind of like always been in the back of the subconscious. You know what I mean? Even in somewhat pop culture, even way back then. It's like they immediately grew it up to be gigantic and made it into a monster, which is kind of what Bigfoot is. He's a giant ape.
Yeah.
Man. 8, 9 foot, 10, 12, 20 feet tall.
Stinks. Yeah.
Yeah, he stinks. I think one of them is called like the stink, like the stink.
Oh, it's a swamp something.
No, there's another one called like the
skunk ape.
Skunk ape. Yeah,
yeah.
Say, like stank.
It's like you know when he's around because he fucking stinks.
Yeah, because he smells terrible. All right, so way back in 1958, right? So this is kind of where it all coalesced, right? Into being
like
pop
in
culture.
Yeah, like exactly.
Right. So there's a bulldozer operator named Jerry Crew, right? And he stumbled around these large footprints while he was working, and he found them in Humboldt County, California. And after the prints were discovered, and then they were reported, I think that the stigma of I don't want to be the first guy to say it and appear insane.
That happens a lot around like aliens too.
Well, yeah.
Like, well, in terms of like let's say you run into somebody and they're like, dude, I just saw a spacecraft last night.
All right.
That shit was 100 foot up. You'd be like, were you on drugs?
Yeah. Were you drinking?
Yeah.
Were you insane?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like no one's gonna want to believe you, even if it's 100% true.
Well,
I can see like the
so
hesitation.
what if you're the guy telling the story and the person you're telling does believe you? Who's more insane? You know what I mean?
Just like
The guy telling the
full
story, the guy
tilt.
believing it.
Yeah, he just goes like 100% in. He's like,
He's like, "Yep,
I'm down. Let's go right now."
yep, that sounds about right."
I'd be questioning that dude.
Big
Like
time,
I'm the one with the crazy ass story, but now I'm
right?
starting to think
And you're buying it like right off the bat, like no,
like
no
you,
follow
no
up questions,
questions,
nope.
nothing. Just straight up, you're in 100% on this. Okay.
Right. So like after the Jerry Crew reported him, the other members of his like crew, I guess.
That's a good name for a bulldozer operator.
It's a good name for any kind of
Jerry
construction
Crew.
worker or anything like that. Yeah. They also were like, "Oh yeah, we saw it too." Right, because I guess just none of them wanted to be the first, and Jerry Crew was like, "Fuck it, I'll be the first." You know, I mean, what do I got to lose? I drive a
Nothing really,
bulldozer
not
in
at the time.
1958.
Well, because you got to remember too, like back then, aliens were still a big thing,
Well, Roswell
but there
wasn't,
was
but
no,
11 years before that.
but there was no like stigma around Bigfoot yet.
No, nobody really
Yeah,
had
he
heard of him.
wasn't even. Yeah, as far as everyone else is concerned, he didn't exist.
Right.
So it wouldn't have been like now if you go out, people, you do stand to get criticized at the
Sure.
very least.
Right.
Back then, yeah, there wasn't much to actually lose for saying it because no one knew what the hell was happening.
That's true. You know what I find funny about like people who say something like Bigfoot doesn't exist? Like the scientists are like, "Oh no, that can't be real. That can't be real. There's no proof. There's no proof." It's always the guys that like work in a university and never leave the university.
Yeah, like never went camping once
They
in their
never
life.
went into the woods. They never like got a grant or whatever that scientists get to go out and actually look for the damn thing. They're like, "No, it's not real because it hasn't been found by somebody else.
Yeah.
So therefore, I'm not going
I
to do
mean,
the work."
scientists can be close-minded with that a lot too.
They're some of the
They're
most
just
closed-minded people, I think.
yeah.
I mean,
Like
I guess they
'cause
have to be skeptical, but there's a difference between skeptical and being a dick. And
yeah,
I think most of them are dicks
yeah,
when it
that's
comes to
the
that.
problem though, because they don't want to. It's like, oh well, modern science hasn't decided it's real.
Right.
Yeah, but none of you are actually going out there and looking for it either.
Exactly.
With millions of dollars behind you and proper trackers and all kinds of things, so you can't really say it was anything
Right.
about it.
My point exactly. Like they're not doing the work. They're not
No,
doing the work, and the
they're
people
just
that
flat out saying
are
no.
considered to be crackpots, which I mean, a bunch of them
Rednecks,
probably
you know
are.
what I mean?
Yeah, a bunch of them are like, "Oh, that was a redneck." I'm like, it was in California. I thought like are rednecks in
Rednecks,
California too? Like,
yeah.
I only thought that was
Redneck
a
is
southern thing.
just a universal
Oh,
thing.
you can have like a
Like
redneck from
rednecks.
like Maine.
Yep.
Is that a thing? Okay.
Why not? It's a
Okay.
lifestyle thing.
It's a lifestyle. Yeah. All
It's
right.
like wearing a
So
mullet on
yeah,
purpose. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
If they're business in the front, party in the back, that's a
Yeah, it
redneck,
doesn't
right?
matter what part. Yeah, it doesn't matter where they're from.
So after the prints were discovered, right? That's when the creature kind of got the moniker Bigfoot. That's when they started calling it, like around all the folks that worked there that knew about them. But even before the footprints made the news, right? Bigfoot or Sasquatch, right, was part of native lore across the world. Like there's all over the place. Asia, I'm sure there's other
Bet with the
continents.
Yeti, and yeah, I mean, I
Yeah,
think every last, uh, except for maybe Africa, I think everyone has some
something like
version
that.
of this. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm sure they do too. I just don't know what it is because I only care about Bigfoot. If I'm being honest,
I
like
don't care about his cousins.
what do I care about the Yeti? I don't care. I'm never gonna go into like a snow-capped mountain ever. I've seen Alive. I mean, I've seen all those movies. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, those are based on true stories, man. Like, I'm not doing that. That's stupid. All right. So, most specifically, North Carolina, the Bigfoot was part of Native American lore, right? Big time. Like the wise man of the mountain, that kind of thing. And he was thought to be like a magical, like mystic creature,
yeah.
right? So they weren't like super afraid of it, but they're like, all right, like he's like super smart and he knows the woods and all that stuff, but like don't like I wouldn't play games with him.
No, don't piss him off.
Yeah, it's like I wasn't gonna. He's 9 foot tall.
You,
It's like
yeah,
800
but
pounds.
there's somebody who's gonna piss him off.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
That's like
there's
going to pick
definitely
a fight with
somebody.
Andre the Giant for no reason.
Yeah.
Like I'm not
I
doing
was
that.
thinking Mike Tyson. Like
Yeah,
I
I wouldn't
want
do
to.
that either.
We're gonna go punch for punch, Mike, and see who
Yeah,
see who's
me and
standing.
George Foreman. Like, it's so stupid. That's like a really bad idea. So old though, a legend. Uh, there's a place called Painted Rock, and it's in the Tule River Indian Reservation, and there are like petroglyphs that are 500, like 1,000, probably older. I think they're just like carbon dating or what, however they do it. And it was created by the Yakuts, and I guess it's a tribe. I don't know, but it was depicting a Sasquatch.
Yeah, I mean that adds some credence to it too. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, but what like all these things are like kind of in my mind like they're all in like the kind of same geographical location, right? So like where the Indian reservation is, and then they found the tracks in California. That's kind of all in the southwest, western side. So it's kind of like, was it already part of the lexicon out there? You know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
probably. I mean, I think of yeah, they have what was that, the Wendigo, but they have different names for it. It's the same creature. You got the
Right,
Raven Caller, he's the same thing.
right. Yeah, the tall man.
This, one tribe came
Wait,
up.
that's not true. Not the tall man. Not
I
him.
was just gonna move on by because I
Not
don't
him.
know every one of their monsters and myths, but
Well, I mean, even the
like
Native
they
Americans
talk to
had
all these tribes talk to
aliens.
each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you want to go at aliens, even how many eight native tribes have essentially the same kind of artwork?
Right.
Like the man with what looks to be a spacesuit, and he's always holding the bag.
Right.
It's always like the same kind of looking bag.
Right. Yeah. That's
So,
true.
like
They
a
always
lot of
got
this
like
stuff.
in the antenna on them.
Yeah. Then like there's one where I think it was an Aztecs, like he was in what looks to be a spaceship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. With those things though, it's if you really look at that picture, I know what you're talking about, where they
Yeah.
carved it into the rock or whatever. Like it's hard to tell what's happening because there is
Yeah. No, I'm
so
talking about the
much
little
going on
figure.
in that picture.
The
You
little
know?
figure. The
Right. Yeah,
stone
yeah,
one.
yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah, I
Dude, you
remember
see the
now.
one where one of them, side note on that, where he has like a removable helmet.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
like
cool.
interchangeable parts, like
That's cool.
3,000 years ago.
Like a
I was
3,000
like,
year old, like Lego man.
yeah. I was like, dude, that's actually kind of cool. I'm not
It
gonna
is
lie,
kind of cool. Like, I mean, that's kind of cool if you were like a kid back then. Like, what do you got to do? Like, nothing.
Yeah.
Get sacrificed, I guess. You know, it's
If
like
you're in
that's
the
really all
Aztec
they
Empire,
did.
yeah.
Like, that's all they did.
Wait
So,
around to get sacrificed. That's
right. So the depictions of the Bigfoot in the Painted Rock, right? Super old. The tracks were found in 1958, reported to the news, right? But in 1811, the first tracks were actually discovered and reported by British explorer David Thompson and his team, right? They just weren't like popularized until 1958 because their news was like
didn't
Pony
travel like
Express
that.
and stuff. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. By the time anyone would have cared, it would or heard about it from the other side of the country, it would have been a year.
they're still discovering like California. Like they haven't even established anything there yet. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like that's how little
I
was
mean, for all they
done.
know, it's a giant bear. I mean, you talk about
Yeah, you don't
1811.
know. You don't know. But I mean, you kind of look at it like, wow, it looks like a giant like man print. I mean, it does.
Dude, there's a dude with fucking size like 23 feet out here.
Yeah, it's like primitive Shack
Yeah,
out there.
Shaq's just running around
Well,
barefoot.
yeah, Shack's 1,000 years old.
Yeah.
He's been around forever. So stupid. Like it's suspicious to me too, though, that like a Bigfoot track does just look like a giant, like human foot almost. I mean,
Yeah.
there's definitely differences. Like, I don't think there's any arc in the prints like a human
Yeah,
has.
that's why a lot of like primates, I don't think have the arc in them
Right.
like we do.
Maybe it was a giant.
That's been thrown around too. Actually, I know that
Yeah.
much.
I saw a video the other day where a guy's like, yeah, you see that cave up there? There was a goddamn giant peeking out of there, and then he closed it. Then he like put like a rock in front of it.
Bringing it back to like the fucking
Like that was like that was only like a month old.
the Odyssey
Yeah.
with Jason, and he like I'm nobody.
Yeah, dude. I'm like, okay.
Put a big ass rock in front of his door.
I watched the whole thing. I mean, he had me at least for 30 seconds. I was like, oh God.
See, those kind of videos, they were like, yeah. As soon as he said, yeah, there was a big giant, he put a rock in front of the door. I'd be like, all right, I'm checking out.
It's even got like a little window cut out of the rock.
Yeah,
That
it's
you
like,
can like peek through.
I'm checking out right here.
Like one of those slide things, you like knock
Yeah.
like a certain way to get. It's like a speakeasy for giants, so they have to like knock like a certain amount of times and like some sort of code to get in.
Dude. But you know, I'm sure a lot of people have actually heard about this, but one of the most famous like videos ever of Bigfoot is the Patterson footage.
Right.
And it's been seen, but I gotta say at this point, it's gotta been seen by almost everybody, even if you didn't know.
Yeah.
It's a pretty iconic like film. You know, there ain't two ways about it.
If you watch the History Channel for 30 minutes, there's
He's
a commercial about some sort of Bigfoot
yeah
show coming on, and it's got that footage in it, and they're like analyzing the tits off of it. And
quite literally, there was one part where they were analyzing the tits on
oh,
it.
they were, that's right.
Like,
oh yeah.
They're like, it may be a female. You see how
that was buried in the subconscious.
But it was filmed by a woodsman named Robert Patterson, right?
And his buddy Giblin.
Yeah, I can't remember his first name.
I can't remember. It doesn't matter
because it's actually called the Patterson Giblin
footage.
Giblin,
right.
Sorry, but no one cares about Giblin.
Nope.
Yeah,
poor guy.
Not even a little bit.
Nobody cares about the second name and anything.
No. But this video, it was recorded in Bluff Creek, California, right? So again,
right back to
California is coming right back in. This was recorded in 1967. Now it shows allegedly, right? Because there's a huge controversy about this. Sasquatch, he's walking across a small clearing,
right
in the woods, right?
Yep.
It looks back over his shoulder and it looks directly at the cameraman. Which on that part is the problem I have is that wild animals, once they notice something like that, they usually stop, stare, try to puff up, you know what I mean? Something. They're not just gonna, oh, I'm just gonna keep on walking natural, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could argue that
he wasn't a little
well, they're a little smarter.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't Bigfoot. Well, yeah, then again, he didn't see him as a threat either. He's like, I could fuck that dude up in a heartbeat if I wanted to.
Like I'm fucking 5 feet taller than him.
I will absolutely decimate this dude if he comes.
It doesn't matter. And if you ever saw a picture of the guy, you would understand why Bigfoot just like kept right on rolling. He didn't care.
He's like, oh, look at that bald baby over there.
Yeah, look at that guy.
I'm not worried one bit about this.
Not even a little.
Well, that's actually like this video is actually where the Bigfoot logo seen everywhere comes from.
Oh, sure.
He's kind of like stepping and one arm front, one arm back.
Right, like the silhouette.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
It's like, again, the most iconic version of Bigfoot.
Yeah, for sure. All the Bigfoot like yard sign, like if you get like you can get like the yard cutout thing you can like stick in your garden, and that's what that's
where that's from.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the most highly debated film ever of Bigfoot.
It's funny.
To be fair, rightly so too.
It is for sure. If it's going to be kind of touted as the way that it is, it needs to be drilled down.
Yeah, dude, I watched a whole video about like, dude, they had actors come in.
Oh, sure.
Tried to recreate his gait.
Right.
You know, like they were analyzing like, oh, well, if you zoom in real close, you can see muscles rippling under the fur. I was like, I don't see that, but I'm gonna go.
Well, the cool thing is too is that it was filmed in 1967, so it makes it look like a snuff film. Kind of,
yeah.
Like the film was so grainy and like tore up.
Yeah,
it looks like something from like 8mm. With Nick Cage analyzing it.
At the time, you know, this was the best evidence we had of Bigfoot, right?
Yeah.
Besides, you know, the physical.
I think it might have been the only.
Yeah, like actual video or picture. I believe you're right. You know, besides physical evidence such as, you know, footprints and the hair samples, which
sure.
always come back inconclusive.
Oh yeah.
And that's probably because they're searching for canine fur. They're because I've even seen where it's like, yeah, it's come back. It's real fur. It's not in our database.
Well, what I
Which
think
I'm
a
like, dude,
lot
at
of
that
it,
point, you gotta kind of give it a little something, something. You know
right?
what I mean?
I think what happens too, a lot of times is like, say it's walking through like thick brush, right? And it's all, fuzzy and it gets snagged on a branch or something. It rips off some of its fur. It's also like out in the elements. So unless you like find it within an hour and it's not been raining, you are in a forest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the weather is constantly changing. You know what I mean? Where it's foggy, it's rainy, it's hot, it's shit, it's cold as hell. It's like you can't really get a good bite on the DNA if it's been exposed to the elements
Yeah,
too
I mean, like,
much.
you figure it's probably a few years been sitting out there, unless you found that's still like quite literally still warm.
I would have liked to have seen an episode of like NCIS where they like,
About Bigfoot.
well, if you know, like they like their DNA like scanning technology there is
Yeah,
from like the year like 2500. It's so advanced, like they never not find
something.
what they're looking for. Like, just
Yeah,
give them the Bigfoot first, see what they can do.
yeah, yeah. Hey, just by the fur, they could tell what the dude had for lunch 10 years ago. And
Right. We've
yeah,
concluded the serial killer was Bigfoot.
yeah,
He's murdered
100%.
he's murdered hundreds of people.
Yeah, the most prolific serial killer we've ever seen. Yeah,
He lives just outside Seattle.
yeah. Here's the exact coordinates.
Right.
Based by the
amazing.
one. This is a rare kind of dirt, and it's only in the south side of Seattle.
Right. It comes from like this lumber yard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ice-T goes out there and to investigate.
Yeah. Has some one-liners for Bigfoot, you know. But this film, man, yeah, it's been through the ringer. People. There've been a lot of people trying to debunk it.
Yeah.
And they have come up with some compelling arguments as to why the footage was faked. Now they even have a dude who was I think he came out and said it.
Yeah.
That he put the big suit. Big suit.
Big
I guess
suit.
it makes sense.
It is a big suit.
He put the suit on and they kind of like tracked his walking, and it kind of resembles the video a little bit too.
Yeah, okay. Maybe.
Yeah, like, but the only problem is that there's no real proof of their claims. So there's a few people have come out and said they helped make it.
Well, the thing
nobody
is
has
that,
the suit.
right.
Yeah, I mean, like, and you kind of need that would be the only way to truly debunk it is I want the actual suit you put on.
Right. But
And
the thing is too, is like
that.
on something like this, there's people full of shit on both sides. Right.
Yeah,
So
there's people who want it to be real so bad, and there's people who want it to be fake so bad.
Right. They make a living off saying this is bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Michael Sherman, I think is his name. He's like a professional debunker.
Yeah.
Like, I don't believe in shit.
Yeah, clearly.
Like, no, nothing. Like,
yeah.
He's skeptical. Like, he doesn't believe in nothing.
Yeah.
And they had him on.
How much fun can your life possibly be when that's like
no fun at all?
That's your whole life.
If you saw the dude, you'd be like, yeah, that guy.
You don't even.
Has
I
never
know
had fun ever in his life, ever.
Just by that dude walking into the room, the fun levels drop significantly.
Like, to into like the negative.
Yeah,
it's torture.
But on the other side of the coin, though, there's a lot of groups that tried to prove that it was authentic.
Sure.
Yeah, with the modern technology available, the film has been through rigorous testing. It's using the distance of the camera to Bigfoot, the surrounding location, as it is today, which I'm pretty sure it hasn't changed much. I'm sure there's probably a few more trees or less trees, but
well, I mean, in when you're in like a remote area, like it was supposed to have been, I mean, there's no human interaction, and we manipulate the environment like crazy. But unless there's like some sort of like natural disaster, hurricane, tornado, whatever, it's not really.
It ain't changing.
It takes thousands of years to change it.
Yeah,
maybe more.
So it's pretty. Like, I know they've found the site it was at.
Right, 30, 40 years later, that's nothing, man.
Yeah, not for nature. It isn't.
Right.
And but they've also they compared the size of Bigfoot, and said like, oh, okay, it would be this tall and blah blah blah.
Right.
Yeah, they've
which
gone through a
which
lot
is
with that.
solid research, I think, like which is really
Yeah, like
it's a very good
I
way
think
of
they
looking at
found
it.
like almost exactly where Patterson was standing
Right.
as like that. I think they might have even used the same kind of camera too to
They
really
did.
hone in on where he would have been at and all this and that.
You kind of have to. You kind of have
Yeah.
to do that.
You couldn't use like modern cameras because they'd be, or I mean, you could, but you'd have to be a little harder, I think.
Well, any good researcher, even if you're a debunker, will do stuff like that. Like they had one, not to get back on the alien thing, but where the guy there was an old
Well,
picture from
aliens,
or kind of play into this a little bit.
yeah, because they like Bigfoot and aliens have essentially the same kind of fan base,
They
like
do.
debunkers. You know, I mean, like the same kind of
You're
stuff.
looking
You
at
know,
one right now.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
like
like them both.
they kind of go hand in hand when you're talking about like the different ways people try to debunk them and all
Well, I think
this.
there was even like an Ancient Aliens episode where I was like, "Is Bigfoot an alien?"
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Ancient was it astronaut theorists contend
Yeah.
that Bigfoot is an extraterrestrial. It's like,
Well,
oh
didn't
Jesus, you
didn't
are
he
really
show
looking
up?
for fucking
Yeah,
show
he showed
topics,
up
man.
on Skywalker Ranch or whatever it's called.
Skinwalker Ranch.
Skinwalker Ranch. Yeah,
I think
Skywalker Ranch
Skywalker
is
Ranch is where like
George
Industrial Lights
Lucas's
and
place.
Magic is. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think.
Skinwalker Ranch. Like he even shows up over there too. You know.
Yeah, I mean they had a but one thing they were doing, so it kind of reminds me of this too. Like I said, any good researcher or debunker or whoever will do that. They'll try to find the original type of whatever camera, video, video recorder, whatever they were using, and try to recreate it because that's what you should do. And they did one for like some flying saucer images that were taken, I think, in the mid to late 50s, where the guy like was in like a pickup truck and he stopped and took a picture like out of his window, and it was like a black ring, smoke ring, and then you could see the flying saucer and stuff like that. And they even had a guy from Polaroid who like
Oh yeah, I
who
remember
made
that.
the camera. He's like, yeah, you couldn't
Can't
have
fake it
like
like this.
faked it like that, especially back then. That camera doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember. Yeah, I remember
I don't know
that.
the ins and outs of it, but
Yeah,
he does.
yeah. The dude was literally like there as like outside of literally putting something in the sky. You can't fake that
You
on
can't fake the
this kind of
image,
camera.
right? Like you couldn't like hang it on a string and not have the string show up
Yeah, something
on
like
the
that. He had a
camera,
very specific reason.
right? And
But
like
yeah,
the
these.
speed that it had that they were taken, you know what I mean? Like it's like, I mean, it
Yeah,
takes
it wouldn't
X
have
amount of
been.
time, and
Yeah, you wouldn't have had time to do it.
right.
I can't remember exactly how he did it, but I
Well, they were
remember.
testing it because I guess the guy was like, "Yeah, it took like 3 or 4 pictures in like 2 minutes or something like that." And they're like, "Can you really do that?" And they're, I mean, they were trying to recreate it that way too. And they're like, "Yeah, it's possible."
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on.
You got an expert.
Doesn't prove a damn thing.
No,
Other
but
than
you
you
have
can
an
take that many
expert saying this
pictures
is
in
100%
2 minutes.
possible.
Right.
Yeah,
Doesn't prove anything.
but
Conclusively.
like what's the word? These groups, right?
Sure.
They have come up with some like amazing conclusions as to why their film is real.
Right.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is one of those videos like you can't prove it or disprove it.
Yeah.
It's kind of up to you to decide whether or not it's real. But the only problem is with it too, and this comes up a lot when you talk about the Patterson footage, is that Patterson was a known con artist.
Yeah, I think
Like that was the main thing. Like, dude, what?
I mean, it doesn't
There was one
mean
expert,
that...
like Bigfoot expert,
Oh yeah.
who said, I think Joe Rogan was talking to him, right? And he's like, yeah, but Patterson was a known con artist. He's like, yeah, but think of this, Joe.
Yeah.
He's like, what if he was going out there to fake the Bigfoot footage and he ran into the real Bigfoot? Like that's how deep some people believe. They're like,
I guess it
I
could
understand.
happen. I mean, it's not.
I
I mean,
understand
there's a
100%.
very low percentage that could happen, but
yeah, he's like, I understand 100%. This dude screwed people over for a living.
I can see Joe Rogan already. Like, what's the protein content of Bigfoot meat?
Yeah, yeah.
Is Bigfoot on the carnivore diet? Does he do ice baths?
I just remember that, like watching that one. I was like, yeah, that kind of proves to you how like deep some people go into them. Like,
well,
they're willing to overlook so much bad evidence,
right?
Or good evidence,
right?
To prove your own conceptions.
Well, that's the thing of science, and actually, I think it might have been on Rogan or something like that, where he quotes some old scientist where he's like, science can prove everything if you allow them one miracle, which was the Big Bang,
Yeah.
right? So it's like they're full of they don't know what the fuck's going on any more than anybody else. I mean, they're smart, sure. They
They
have
have a
found out a lot
slightly
of cool
better
stuff,
understanding.
but there's
I
like
mean, but
there's
yeah.
so much that they don't understand and probably never will. That it's like, fuck you, man. You're like, you don't know. You don't know. Like, you thought those fish were extinct for 500 million years. And guess what? They weren't. You know
Yeah,
why?
no,
Because
this
you were
other
looking at the
tribe's
wrong
been cooking them.
place. You were
Yeah.
looking at the wrong place.
Yeah,
It's literally that
you were
simple
looking in the
sometimes.
dirt and not looking into the actual water where
Right. Like
it was supposed to be.
you're not like broadening your scope. You're very narrow minded. It's like, well, this is where they should be,
Yeah,
and they're not there. It's like, well,
here.
maybe they went somewhere
Well, I
else.
mean, migration patterns change. I mean,
Right.
it's even happening now. Look
Yeah.
at the ocean with all the oceans now. Like you got sharks showing up places they've never been.
Yeah, like up the river, like they're moving, like, and they're like adapting to like saltwater to freshwater, and vice versa.
Well, then, like, dude, you have even like jellyfish.
Frogs that are turning gay. Like,
Yeah, the frogs are gay.
yeah.
They're turning the frogs gay. No, but like in reality, like there's like jellyfish showing up in huge amounts that they've never been seen before.
Right.
So I mean, migration patterns do change.
Right.
All it would take is the climate.
Well, and that's the thing too.
Climate got warmer.
I mean, it's like
Maybe
maybe
more plentiful.
like like you said, it's like I'm not like a huge believer in global warming as far as like human caused, I mean, the earth has been in flux since creation, and it's constantly changing. It's constantly getting hotter and colder, and they have ice core samples to prove that. Like, it's like, well, I mean, maybe in 1,000 years something happened, and then boom, they moved to a different place to survive.
Either that, or I mean, when it comes to that, I can't remember. It wasn't the seal camp though. Well, when it comes to that fish, it could have been all over the ocean,
right?
And then just the parameters for their survival changed
right
everywhere except there.
Right. I mean, think of it like
that's why they died off on the other side of the world.
Right.
Because the other side of the world wasn't hospitable for them anymore.
Well, it's the same as
river or whatever it was.
Like, think of it the way I like to think, like Bigfoot. Back to Bigfoot though. It's like, well, they would have to have so many to have a viable population to continue growth, right? It's like, well, think about like
get like inbreeding happening.
Well, the thing is, it's like, well, think about like animals that are like almost extinct. What's happening there? Maybe it's something similar. Maybe they are on their way out, and there's less of them, and God knows the reason why they would be going extinct. But maybe,
I mean, animals go extinct every day.
Yeah, exactly. Like they quit breeding. Something changed in their DNA where they don't breed as much. They don't have like that desire to.
There's not enough food or something like that.
Right, or people are coming in and
look at pandas.
Their entire habitat.
Pandas, you can give pandas all the food they want, and they still won't do anything.
Yeah,
like you can give them everything required for breeding, and they just like, no, I'm good.
Correct.
Like pandas deserve to be extinct.
Right. They put the female and the male in the same area, and he's like, no, I'm good.
I'm
not really in. I'm not digging her.
No,
or he doesn't make enough money a year.
If you were a panda, you'd know how ugly this chick was.
Well, yeah,
like, I can't. I can't do it.
You don't get it. Maybe the panda doesn't have a good enough salary for the girl panda. God knows. You never know, panda. Man. Like there's so many factors that could come into play with it that if you're not going to look for it, like I said, if you're going to go out here and be a debunker, and you're like a scientist, like go out in the field, man. Go out for a month. I don't know how long you can really, without really knowing anything or bringing somebody with you that knows how to survive in the woods for that long. Like, go out and do the damn work, man. Don't just sit in an office and say it's not real if you've never been out there. You don't know. No, get firsthand experience, man. You're counting on somebody else to do your job for you and then take credit for it.
Yeah, because then I feel like
that's what half of scientists do.
Because then you can go, oh yeah. I know a couple years ago I said it didn't exist, right? But that was before the new evidence came out.
Right. It's like, well, you didn't do anything to help that at all.
No,
you lazy bitch. Like, you didn't do any of that.
Like
Why are you on
unless
TV?
you're
Why am I listening to you talk? Get the fuck out of
unless
here.
you're like a scientist in terms of like, a primatologist or
Right.
something like that. You know what I mean? Like
Those
where
people have to
your
go out.
whole thing is animals, right?
Sure.
Like a nuclear physicist
Right.
shouldn't really have a say on whether or not something exists.
Yeah. I mean,
Unless
they
it's
shouldn't
something
all
to do
have
with
like a.
nuclear physics.
Yeah, they shouldn't all have like a nuclear reactor at their disposal.
No, but
You know
what I'm
why?
saying
You know
is,
why? Because C's get degrees, pal.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
But what
Like
I'm saying
they're
is that
not
like
all top of the line. They're not all
not all
Oppenheimer.
science, but like you can't go to that kind of scientist and ask them, does
Right.
this animal exist?
Right.
It's not their specialty.
Right. That's true too.
Yeah, their specialty is numbers and all that. You got to go to the people who
Right.
who understand that.
But you look at the lady
You know,
that like discovered the gorillas and all that stuff. What was her name? Was
Jane
it
something.
Jane Austen?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
She like lived in the rainforest.
With them,
Yeah, like that's doing the
like
work,
she
man.
gained. If I'm not mistaken, she gained like the trust of the troop.
Right.
It was like hanging out with them all day.
Right. It's like that's doing the work. Do the work, then come at me.
Yeah, exactly.
Then come at me because otherwise you're just talking shit. That's it. So the Gimlin footage, Patterson Gimlin. I went right to the second name first, which I said wasn't important. But so like one thing I did notice though is like I do like to watch like Bigfoot documentaries. Most of them are terrible. And I don't know
Yeah,
why. I don't know
but
why
it's the
that is.
people doing them. But you know how it's like finding Bigfoot, right?
Right.
You know how it's going to end. If they
They're,
found fucking Bigfoot, it would have been the biggest news story in the world.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. Yeah, you would have
So it's
heard
like
about it before the show
yeah,
aired.
yeah. So it's like, okay.
Yeah.
I
Right.
know you're not gonna find nothing.
Yeah. I
Or
mean,
you're not gonna find Bigfoot. You might find footprints or something, but you ain't
right. You'll
gonna find
find
it.
circumstantial
Yeah.
evidence, but you won't. You're not going to find Bigfoot. You're not going to do it. He's a magician, apparently. He can disappear and reappear whenever he wants.
Pretty much.
So, like I said, I do watch a bunch of them, right? But there was one that I thought was pretty good, right? So it was called Discovering Bigfoot and was released October 2017, according to IMDb, right? So it's made by this dude named Todd Standing, okay? And to look at the dude, you're like, that guy hunts Bigfoot. To
He
look
just
at
has
him.
that look at about him. He's like,
He
yeah,
does. He's like that
you
dude hunts
100%.
Bigfoot for a living. That's what he does. And like the stuff that he caught though, again, if it's real, is definitely it's kind of mind blowing, right? And it's very compelling and revolutionary. And if you can prove that it's real, it's game changing, right? At this point, it's already like a 6-7 year old documentary. So who knows, if they're ever going to do anything with it. But during the film, like there are a lot of like clear shots of Bigfoot faces.
Yeah, which dude, that's when it comes to things like this, Bigfoot, aliens,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, ghosts.
Right.
If you get a grainy footage, people say it's fake.
Right.
If you get a decent footage, people say it's fake.
Yep.
You get a 4K
Right.
with the ghost holding today's newspaper,
Right.
and they'd still say it was fake.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter because like if
Yeah,
you look at like the
especially
comments of those,
the
it's
harder
like
you get it.
it's like why are Bigfoot and alien and fucking ghost pictures always like grainy and like out of focus and stuff, and then like you get one that's like super clear and they're like, well, that's photoshopped. So there's no pleasing some
that's
people.
that's clearly a mask.
Yeah, right. There's no pleasing them.
Hell, dude, I'm even guilty of that.
There's no pleasing me.
Like the clearer
I need a
the
body.
picture,
Yeah.
the more likely I am to be like, no.
Yeah. I want to go to my local zoo and see a fucking Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Like that's what I want to do. Like, I'm sorry. I know that Bigfoots are apparently like this mystical, magical creature, but I want to see one locked in a cage
Yeah.
so I can look at it and like eat
Ooh,
like
an eye at it,
popcorn
yeah.
and stuff and just be like, wow. All right.
There you
That
go.
where are the where are those monkeys from Madagascar? Where are those things? Let's go watch them. They're fun.
Yeah.
You know?
Dude, if we ever caught Bigfoot, That's exactly how it would turn out.
Yeah,
It's like when you go look at the black bears at the zoo, I mean, it's like, oh, okay.
you know, it's because there's
You move
no,
on.
it's because there's no sense of danger, I think.
No, there, yeah,
Yeah, so
exactly.
you're just like, oh, okay. Yeah, if you saw one in the woods though, you'd be like, oh
Yeah,
shit. Yeah,
gotta get the
like
fuck
I
out of here.
am, oh God,
I'm
I'm dead. I
screwed.
don't know how to climb trees. I'm not very fast. I don't really know. Do I
You
like
better hope you have like a slower friend next to you could trip,
yeah, I'm gonna push him immediately. Like, are you talking about like instantly?
I wouldn't like Karate Kid his knee, you know what I mean? In the movie where he just kicks it.
I'll hit him with a rock or something. Something like
You
Bigfoot hit
start
him with a
running.
rock.
And you just better hope that your friend like doesn't survive that.
Yeah, because yeah, you're gonna get ratted
Like
on immediately.
yeah, like you need him, you need them to die at that point.
You're like, well, sir, it looks like your friend here was bludgeoned with a rock. Well, you've heard of all the stories of Bigfoot throwing rocks.
Yeah, he must have caught him
That's
in the
what
back of the
happened.
head.
Yeah, you hit him right in the head multiple times. But your footprints are right next to him. Yep, I saw the whole thing happen.
Yeah. Why do you think I'm here? Not lying on the ground. I ran my
Exactly.
ass off.
So, like the face of the Bigfoot, right? And it's not pictures; it's actual video, right? The thing of it is, and here's kind of the rub of it, right? So they're very clear. And if they are like a mask, they're very well done. They're like movie quality stuff, and they don't really move a lot. And eventually, like you'll see like an eye blink, but they're kind of like they look like teddy bear eyeballs.
Yeah.
Like they just don't ever blink. You know what I mean? And I don't. Maybe they don't blink as much as a human, so I'm kind of like comparing it to a person. I don't
Well,
know.
that too, and like you got the whole thing when you're in like a dangerous situation,
Hmm.
your eyes are
Yeah,
wide open trying to get
your
as much
senses are
information.
heightened. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true too.
You're not blinking constantly.
Right, and so like in the movie, and they're during the day too, which I think adds a little bit of extra to it because it's you're early at night or it's like I said, it's like foggy and it's hard to see. But this was clear as day, no clouds, dudes like going right through branches and shit. Like
Yeah, yeah.
looking
You
square at
see
him.
its face like right through a couple branches.
Right, he refers to them as day watchers. Right, so they're like half man, half monkey,
Vampires.
vampires. Yeah. They have swords.
Half Sasquatch, half vampire.
Right. Like, I mean, that's what they do. That's how they
Well, I mean,
survive.
I could kind of see that as like they're watchmen.
Yeah. So the
You
idea
know,
behind it is that
the
like
rest of the troop is somewhere behind them.
sleeping or whatever.
Yeah.
Again, this guy's watching out. But it's like, well, he's just in one spot, so they must have multiple watching in multiple directions, right? Because what happens if somebody a mountain lion comes from behind them?
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know what
you're
I mean?
gonna
Like,
need
what's gonna happen then?
you'd have,
Is it
hand
prison
or so
rules where
surrounding them.
you put your back to a wall? You only got to defend a few sides. Like,
Yeah.
what is you know what I mean? Like, what are the rules for this? Right. So I mean, they are pretty amazing to look at if you go into the documentary with the mindset that it's real. Right. You have to be in that frame of mind and be like, okay, this dude legit found some stuff. Right. And it kind of goes back to it though. I mean, they are so good, it looks fake. You're like suspicious of it. Because you're like, that is very
Well, I mean,
clear.
even when it comes to like the blinking,
Yeah.
if they blink too much, people would have had something to say about it.
Right. Yeah.
If it blinked the normal amount, well, wait a minute now. Animals
Well,
don't blink that much.
so he shows it a bunch of times during the documentary, which if they're real, I would be too. You know what I mean? And he even at the like towards the end of it, he does kind of go into like a commentary on them where he's like, and there's an eye blink for you, but it's like their whole like brow, blinks
Yeah.
with their eyeballs, which is suspicious. Yeah, yeah, it's kind of like that. You know what I mean? So it's like their lips don't move. You know what I mean? Like it's like I don't know enough about it.
I think
I
it's
don't know
one of
enough
those
about it.
pictures. It's one of the pictures of videos where it's better if you don't look at it too long. You know what I mean? Like
you don't scrutinize it at all.
yeah.
It's great.
Well, it's more like you see it like, oh damn. But then like the more you look at it, like you start focusing in on it.
Right. Yeah, you start picking out the
It's
the
like don't pick out your
minutia.
own shit so people can debunk it later.
Right. I mean, that was the first thing that came to mind. Like, well, those things are like not even blinking. And they look drastically different because he's got a couple different ones and they are drastically different looking. You know, one looks like your traditional, like it looks like I'm like an ape, and then one of them's got like a really flat face, and a completely different color, and like the hair is different. Like it's not like the same like pattern on their face. I'm like, what the
Yeah.
hell is going on here?
There's just about 3 or 4 of them just doing a puppet show.
Well, the thing is,
behind
like,
those
have you ever seen
trees,
like a chimp or a gorilla or stuff? They don't really look that different. They all look
yeah.
pretty much the same. You can't really like tell like one monkey from another monkey. Like you're like, oh, that's Paul. That's Dave over there.
Yeah.
Like it's
I
hard
mean,
to
I guess
tell.
you could. It's like the parents with twins.
Right.
They know which one it is. I mean, I guess you'd have to be around them.
Right. But this is like the
Probably
difference
start
between
picking them out.
like like a white person and a black person. That's how drastic the difference is, in my opinion. You know what I mean? It's like they don't look anything alike. It's that contrasting. You know what I mean?
I guess like if you're going by that, we're believing. Yeah, you believe all this.
Right.
They're probably not too far away evolutionarily, like evolution speaking, away from
No,
us.
they're
So I
not, they're
mean, they
probably not
could have,
different demographics and stuff.
like,
Yeah, that makes sense.
or even there's different looks to them.
Right.
Some have, of course. Then like it's kind of like with men, right? When you're a boy, you don't have any facial hair.
Right.
As you grow, it starts coming up, coming down.
Right. Okay.
Because then there's even
It's just as good an explanation as anything else.
Well, there's
You know
even
what I mean?
examples in nature where, like, the parent and the baby are two drastically different colors.
That's true.
Because, like, I think, like, for instance, like with fawns,
Right.
they're all spotted to help camouflage better.
Sure.
But then as they grow, the spots go away because they're able to run or whatever.
Right.
I mean, you could add that into it as they're different stages.
Right.
Of course, the one with the flat face could have gotten hit with a Bigfoot fist.
Like a
it just
a Sasquatch
like a little,
like
like a little
pan.
Nicky situation.
Oh yeah, like a shovel or something. I mean, I'll show pictures
Has a lisp now,
of the difference, like how different they look, because it's kind of like, oh god, like it's very different. But before like the film was released, though, Standing started a research group called Savanic. Okay, so like that's his research group and all that kind of stuff. And the original members included himself, a biologist, a Cree Nations elder, which I think he learned his tracking stuff from. Right.
If you're gonna ask somebody,
it was in Predator. I mean, why? I mean, it's got to be legit. A paramedic, and then to balance it all out, he had like a skeptic who didn't believe in any of that shit. He's like, ah.
They always have that,
right? I mean, you got to keep things in perspective. You know what I mean? Well, granted, their perspective might be so black and white. There's no gray area.
Yeah,
but it's like it's good to have them like,
you need somebody so everybody doesn't work themselves up.
Yeah, into like a frenzy. Yeah. They're all. It's like an echo chamber at that point. If you don't have somebody that's
you just starting to confirm your own stuff,
right? Like a self-fulfilling kind of prophecy that you're gonna find them, and everybody else believes that you're gonna find them. And then you got Bob. He's like, you guys are fucking idiots.
If you weren't paying me, I would not be here.
I wouldn't be here. So once the team went public, they were joined from groups all over the world. They're all working together to prove the same thing, so they have a common goal, right? But again, it is good to have somebody in there to keep perspective. That's kind of like, well, maybe it's not what you think. The
brakes a little bit,
right? Let's get to the bottom of it and definitively show yes or no, that kind of thing. So, like in the beginning of the documentary, though, it's mostly about the Todd Standing guy, and he was doing like various like woodman activities. He's like jumping up hills, and he's showing like it's very
look
like,
at my agility.
Yeah. He's got like +5 agility, which and it's kind of showing like, look how awesome I am, like look how good I am in the woods. Which granted, the dude definitely knows a hell of a lot.
Yeah, but it's not truly
in the
needed,
woods. Right? It's not really needed. It's more of like a vanity.
You could do, I mean, you could just show your credentials.
Well, I think he's trying.
I got X amount of years, and
what I think he's trying to do, but failing, is the show. Like, I know how to survive out here. Like, I know what a bear sound looks like. Is like. I know how to navigate myself here. You know what I mean? Like, I know how to find the same spot over and over and over again. even though
Well,
you're
I
in the
mean,
middle
like,
of fucking
yeah,
nowhere.
like, dude, look at like
You just didn't
Survivor
need to do
Man.
it the way that you did it, because now it
Yeah,
just looks like you're just trying to show off.
yeah,
And I'm
like look
like,
how good
I'm
I am
checking
at
out
it.
of you,
Yeah,
like you as a person. I'm checking out.
I mean,
But
like
as
look
far
at
as what
like
you're
the
finding,
show,
I'm still on board.
like Survivor Man, and what's that other one with
They were on
Bear
Survivor Man.
Grylls? In terms of like, I think it writing the like pilot episode, it might even be in the opening scenes. They're like, yeah, I've been a woodsman expert, whatever, for X amount of years. I've done this, I've done that, I've done that,
Right.
and you just move on. It's like, okay, this dude knows what he's talking about.
Right.
Yeah, you don't need
It's like
the
20 minutes though of like,
him like running up hills and shit.
yeah, like walking through a creek and stuff. You know what I mean? And it's like some of the like the camouflage stuff he was doing um was pretty cool. I was like, oh god, I didn't even notice him there.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I don't know if it was like the film quality or what, or maybe he was really just that good
yeah.
at blending in, that kind of thing. Which if you're a hunter, I mean that's kind
There's
of
a hint of
what you do.
narcissism in that.
A little bit, a
Like,
little bit.
look how good I am at it.
Right. But if if it's you or me walking out there, you're like, I don't buy this fucking guy at all. So it's kind of
For
like a
half a second,
balance.
yeah.
It's a balance you got to find, but I just
Yeah,
don't think he found it. And he states that he was a trained sniper in the military. I think Canadian, so not busy,
yeah. No,
not a busy guy.
no, he's got
But
nothing
I'm sure
better
he
to
was
do.
trained well. He's like I said, experienced woodsman, an expert in camouflage and escape tactics and the tracking. In case shit got real with a Bigfoot or whatever else is out in the middle of fucking like vast emptiness of northern, western Canada. It's
Yeah,
like
there's
nothing
not a whole
there,
lot going on out there.
trees and rocks and fucking bears and
Yeah, that's about it.
wolves
Yeah,
and stuff, like packs of wolves. It's a very dangerous place to be.
yeah.
Like it takes, I'll give him that, dude. It takes balls to go out there, and he does a bunch by himself and just stay out there for days by yourself.
No, you can keep that.
Yeah, that takes balls to do, man. Knowing
I don't mind camping,
all the
but
crazy stuff you're surrounded by. It's like, oh yeah, there's some elk. I'm like, do you know how big a fucking elk is? Like
fucking
that thing will
massive.
trample you to death, dude, in like a second, in like 1 second.
Just for looking at it sideways.
It weighs like 1,500 pounds. Like it almost weighs a ton. You're 200 pounds. Like,
Yeah.
you're gonna get
Dude, you ever
destroyed.
see that video of the moose chasing the bear?
Oh yeah.
It was like at a lake resort or something.
Jesus, man. Like that's how big they are, dude.
And that's what's out there too, like fucking moose.
Yeah.
And it's
They're
chasing a
humongous.
bear. Like an apex predator is and that bear is running for his fucking life. Dude.
Yeah.
Like, it
It's
ain't
like, oh God. Like,
it's not like, oh, you got me good, I gotta run. Like, this thing's like terrified.
well, it's like when you watch like a lion kind of like fuck with like a rhino. Like the
Yeah,
rhino
like,
starts getting pissed. And the lion's like, oh.
oh yeah,
Like
oh yeah,
you're like a tank like with legs. You know what I mean? Like a giant fucking horn on you. It's like, no, I'm
you're gonna
good.
jack me up the moment that you
Right.
decide to.
Yeah, they don't mess with those guys too much, I don't think.
No.
So, anyways, all right. So the setting of the footage, it's following him in the woods, and I think 2012, if I'm not mistaken. He was out there 5 6 days, and he's getting like a bunch of action. You know what I mean, like growls off camera and stuff thrown at him, and the normal kind of stuff you would see on like a Bigfoot show. You know what I mean, where like you're hearing all kinds of weird shit in the woods. It's pitch black. You don't fucking see anything. IR only goes so far. You know what I mean, you can't,
Yeah.
especially through thick brush. You know what I mean, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it doesn't
But
go very far in the woods at all.
there was one cool thing I thought that was in there. He's like he filmed like an altercation between himself and I think 3 Bigfoots. He said, there was like two on like a hill, and then like there was like another one. Like they hunt like velociraptors apparently, where like you
Clever
see the
girl.
one and then like the attack comes from the side, like like they said in Jurassic Park or something. It's kind of like that. And it's like a tree, and it's like it's a deep ass snow. So it's northern Canada, dude. So you're getting pounded with snow, and you see like a giant like pine tree, and then you see like kind of like in between the branches, like this giant like hulking figure. You know what I mean? It's if it's real, dude, that thing is humongous. It's like 10 feet tall, dude. It's fucking huge. It is giant. And then like after it, like he gets hit with like a log, it, like knocks him off his feet, and then like he goes back later and he's like comparing himself.
if
to where
something
it
throws a
was.
log at me and I somehow survive,
Yeah.
because you're not talking about a stick, you're
No.
talking about a fucking log.
Well, and the log had like a bunch of like super sharp like branches and stuff on it.
Yeah. If you hit me with a log,
Right.
I don't care what you are, Bigfoot
Yeah.
or a person,
Yeah.
you win. I'm never coming back to your town.
Well, like when I saw the
I'm not
log, like I'm like, that's like
whoop
nature's
my ass
equivalent. It's like the
with a
nature
tree.
equivalent of like a baseball bat with like nails through it. Like
Yeah,
that's what it looked like.
yeah.
I'm like, good God, man. Like that could have like easily killed you. Like
Yeah, it's like no,
easily.
you win, especially if I survive that.
Right.
Okay,
Well, he
I'm
goes
gonna tap
back and
out.
like he uses himself as a measuring stick, and I think to him, what he says in there is that he's like 6'5", like 230. He's like a big dude. You know, I mean, that's a good sized guy. And when he goes in that same area, he is nowhere near the size of that thing. I mean, it's not even close. It's like two of him wide and like another half of him tall. Like, you know, I mean, it's a fucking huge creature, dude. Like it's gigantic. And like I said, though, like in the documentary too, though, like he brings in two like researchers, like independent researchers. Like I think one of them, he's at like the University of somewhere, like Iowa or something like that. And his name is Professor Jeffrey Meldrum, right? And then he's like probably the most famous Bigfoot like researcher guy. He's on like every Bigfoot show. You know, he's got like gray hair. He's just an older looking dude, and he's got like all the Bigfoot prints and all that. That's like where all of them go, like all the casts and stuff. So he's like big deal. You know, he's a really big deal in that
Yeah, in
field,
that scene. Yeah.
right? And he brought this other dude, John Bindernagel. He's a super old guy, and he wrote a bunch
With
of
the
books.
last name of Bendernagel.
Yeah,
You better be old. That's not
yeah.
a 20-year-old name. That's
No, no, it's like being named Ethel.
yeah.
No, yeah, like you're not getting that anymore. And like he brings them in to bring like credence to what he's doing. There's like my only kind of criticism when they're with him is that he's like showing them things, but he's like trying to lead them into his line of thinking about what they're seeing. You know what I mean? He's like, oh, like this is a
Instead of
track.
letting them come to
Like put your
their own
foot in there and
conclusions.
see, and like you see all these like weird tree structures and tree breaks and stuff. I'm like how do we know that you didn't just put that there? Like you and
Like
some
last month,
folks went
and then
went
came
out there
back.
and kind of staged this thing knowing that these people are going to show up.
Well, I mean, like, dude,
You're the one that's leading them
especially
through the woods.
yeah. Well, especially like the problem is too is how many people go camping every year? How is it
Literally
that these
hundreds.
probably millions? I mean,
Oh.
every year. I'm not talking
Oh.
about yeah, but but it's always these Bigfoot guys that seem to find the broken trees, the TP kind of looking thing where
Let me play devil's advocate a bit with that though, because it's like they know what should be there and kind of like what shouldn't be
yeah.
there too. You know what I mean? Like if you're in the woods your whole life, you're like, oh, that looks weird.
See, I've been in the woods a lot in my life. I've never once came across a healthy tree that was snapped like
Right.
fucking 15 feet in the air.
Right. That's true.
Yeah, like I've been in the woods a lot. And
No,
they've
you
never
haven't.
once. Yes, I have. I grew up in the woods.
Yeah, I
I've
know.
never once
I
been.
know where you grew up.
Yeah,
I lived there too.
yeah. But
The the, the
I was in
woods
the
was
woods
next
a
to a
lot.
highway.
Yeah, but there was a lot of
Yeah,
other non-touched woods.
fair enough.
And I've been camping too after,
Hmm.
and we've been through the woods and all that. I've never once came across. It was always a downed tree. It was never
Right.
a snap branch at 10
Right.
foot in the air.
Well, the one dude, Jeff Meldrum, does kind of like pump the brakes on some of his stuff, like without being a jerk about it.
Yeah.
He's like, well, and he keeps saying, like, well, you allegedly have seen these things before, and you allegedly believe that it's this, and he's trying to find like rational explanations for it. You know what I mean? He's like, look, and people will say, oh, why this tree? He's like, well, maybe this tree was just ready to get blown over. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
who knows?
There's a
What I
lot
mean?
of
He's like,
explanations.
it doesn't really prove anything.
Oh, I
Doesn't
mean,
prove anything.
if a tree was snapped like that, it could have even been a bear, wanted whatever was in those trees.
Well, the thing about
And
that,
bent it down, I mean, and it snapped at one point.
bears, I don't think have retractable claws. I think they're just
No.
claws. So, like, if
Yeah.
they're on a tree, you're going to see evidence
Probably, yeah,
all of that
true.
of their paws and shit ripping it apart. You know what I mean? Trying to climb up it or whatever. Because if I know my bears, they love climbing trees and picnic baskets and
And honey bots.
and like honey pots, and like beehives and stuff. So they're constantly in trees.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? But there's always like evidence of them. Always evidence, like their claw marks and shit like that. You know?
yeah. But
But
then again, like you said, like there's no proof. There's nothing stating
mm,
that he didn't go out
right,
days or weeks before
it's a little suspect in my eyes.
and snaps the tree because you could have
Right.
brought damn ladder with you, get up that high,
Couple
snap it.
buddies, throw
Yeah,
it up there. You know, who knows? Who knows, man? You know? And he's like, oh, that would have took
because
the
it's just a
strength of
little
two gorillas to push
coincidental.
that over.
It would have been different if he brought the two scientists out there and you know first 5 or 6 times they went out there they saw nothing. You be like the
Yeah. Well, the
you
first
bring them
day, I
out
guess they
there
didn't
and
find
you
nothing. The
yeah.
first day
But I'm
or
talking
so,
about like there's a lot of other ones that they go out for days and days and days at a time
don't find
and
nothing.
find nothing, and
Well,
you just happen to run across some
I think
Bigfoot
what he
tracks
says too, though, is
while
that
you're
like
recording.
that's his area, like where
Yeah,
he has found them the most. You know what I mean? Like he has the most interactions. Like in this general region is where I've had the most activity. So he goes to the same spot.
yeah.
You know what
Fair
I mean?
enough, I suppose.
It's like, well, again, you could have done that. I mean, I'm not saying you did. I mean,
A random fucking hiker
maybe.
could have done it too,
Right.
knowing,
Granted,
especially
some
in
of the
these
stuff is hard
areas.
to do. It is hard to do.
Yeah, I mean, like, but
Like snapping a tree is not
can't
easy, dude. Like,
you can't always put out the fact that somebody else
hmm,
didn't do it. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Maybe it wasn't him. It was some other guy. Yeah, who knows?
yeah, like because I got to imagine in these small towns in these mountain regions,
Mm-hmm.
right?
That are famous probably for Bigfoot sightings.
Yeah, that a few people don't go out there
Yeah.
and like, okay, we know these guys love coming through this area because they're
Right.
always talking about it, and we'll snap
Right.
a couple fucking trees.
Yeah. It's still hard to do though.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Like
Yeah,
10 feet
no
in the air
doubt.
and you like snap it. Like it's really hard to do, man. Like a regular
Yeah,
person doesn't really have like that kind of like
strength.
yeah, that tensile strength to like just snap a fucking tree and like not only not and not break it off and then like point it in like in a direction. So
Yeah,
it's like it's kind of like I'm on the fence with that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It's like what is the point? I guess only
just to
Bigfoot
fuck with
knows.
people. Well, dude, there was this one guy. I can't remember where. I want to say it was South America somewhere, but like just to fuck with people
Mm-hmm.
for 30 years, dude. He had these giant penguin feet,
Oh, I know what you're
and
talking
he'd
about.
walk. And every night he'd go out there and walk the beach in these giant penguin feet
Right.
for
Just to mess
30
with
years. He
people.
wasn't getting anything out of it other than the
Right.
fact that he gets to laugh at the people who believe there's a fucking 12-foot
I like that
penguin
guy.
walking around.
That's
Yeah.
hilarious. That's
And so like people
hilarious
do
joke.
shit just to fuck with them, yeah, other
Right.
people.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, some people suck, man. But that's kind of funny.
Yeah,
It's kind of
because it's
funny.
like it's not like he's going off a um an established like
Right.
belief like
Sure.
Bigfoot. He
Right.
was just like, I'm gonna make some big penguin feet
So stupid.
and just start fucking with people. I'm gonna start at the water's edge and work my way over. And
Right. Like, yeah. It's hilarious. And it's probably yeah, and it's like tropical.
dude, and I saw
Makes no
like
sense
where
for a
he
penguin to be there.
finally, I guess he finally put out that it was him, and he had this like biggest smile on his
Yeah.
face. He's like,
What are you gonna do?
Yeah,
Really?
you
What
could,
are you
I
gonna
didn't break
do?
no laws. Screw you.
I mean, so like back to that documentary though. I picked that one out because I did enjoy it probably the most of any of the ones that I've ever seen, and I've seen several more than I like to admit here. You know what I mean? And I know I'm kind of like I feel like it sounds like I'm shitting on the guy a bit. You know what I mean? But it's I think it's very entertaining. You know what I mean? And if it's real, it is awesome. It's awesome. But it's kind of like that Patterson Gimlin footage where it's kind of like you need to decide for yourself if you believe it's real or if you believe it's not real, because most people don't have the ability or the knowledge to like disprove it for themselves.
Yeah, I
You know what I
mean, you
mean?
don't
Like
have the technical capabilities,
right, or the expertise
to
to
it.
do so. So it's like
Yeah,
you have to, you know, what like 1%, like a percent of a percent has the ability to do that. And whether they're wasting their time doing it for this, probably not.
yeah, like You know,
You
then you
know?
got that smaller percentage who's actually willing to dedicate their time
Right.
to it.
Yeah, some asshole on Reddit or something has probably done it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
More
I'm
likely,
sure.
you know, because he's got nothing else to do in his life.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. But the thing is that Todd Standing has been accused of faking evidence in the past, and I
Yeah.
think he got caught maybe once or twice. So
Well,
you take
then
it with a grain of salt.
it comes to that whole thing too, where like even a lot of them groups, no matter what, you know, whatever they're trying to prove,
Mm-hmm.
Bigfoot, aliens,
Sure.
whatever. A lot of them have been caught faking evidence
Right.
because they want to try to bring attention
Yeah.
to their beliefs, but the
That's a pretty
problem is they're
common,
actually
pretty common trait.
hurting their cause by doing it.
They don't see it that way.
Yeah,
I
no,
think.
they don't at all. They
Yeah.
see it as like, I'm gonna make this one little lie
Mm-hmm.
to try to get the funding or whatever I
To bring
need.
attention to it, and
Yeah,
then if you're bringing attention to it, then more people will pump money into it, or they have better resources or whatever.
yeah. So
Yeah.
you know, so if Bigfoots are real, yeah, if you're going off that thing, the question a lot of people have are, you know, where are they? We've already kind of talked about this a little bit.
Right.
And one of the criticisms, like the largest one
Mm-hmm.
for this creature's existence is, you know, why haven't we found the body? Why haven't we found any bones?
Right.
How are they able to hide so long
Right.
without officially being discovered and cataloged and all that, you know,
Sure.
and everything that goes along with it?
I mean, I guess you
Why
could.
can't I go to the Bronx Zoo and see a Bigfoot? You know,
Right. I mean,
a
I
lot
guess
of
you could make
people.
an argument that they have been discovered and they kind of have been cataloged, just not acknowledged by mainstream
Yeah.
science. And there's
But if you're
no
going by
bodies
like,
found.
well, that's what a lot of people are going by. They're not going by like, oh, I want Dr. So and so to say,
Right.
we caught a Bigfoot.
Right.
He's in our lab. We're doing
Right.
tests on him. You know, the whole nine.
Because you don't have the expertise, so you have to trust the people that do.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And like, just to give you an example of how much space these things have to hide in, right?
Mm-hmm.
That like the possible like areas for this dude just in North Carolina, North America, North
Right.
America.
Sure.
It expands over 9.3 million square miles.
It's a fucking lot.
That's a lot of, you know,
Mhm.
and there's plenty of room for this, you know, for Bigfoot and its population to stay hidden away from humans and our settlements.
Right. I think the estimated Bigfoot like population is like 15,000. I don't know where they get that number from, but I don't know where they
It's
get any numbers
probably
from.
more like a breeding, like
Population.
sustainable breeding population.
Right. Yeah.
Would
That's like
need that to
lowballing it.
keep,
Right.
yeah, to keep the genes
The
up.
minimum. Yeah.
Yeah. And one question, like exactly like how many sightings this creature have been reported, right?
Right.
There's a lot of sightings. Like this, for
Right.
how little people actually give credit to him, he gets seen quite a bit.
Yeah.
So like the scope of this, right, to help like people understand a little bit,
Right.
like the breakdown of the top locations,
Right.
like as of today, right now, it might be skewed a little bit,
Yeah.
but approximately 10,000 sightings were reported in the continental United States and Canada.
Well,
That's a lot of sightings.
it is.
First of all, for a lot of people to say no.
Right.
Although then again, you could probably attribute that to some of that to brown bears and stuff like that standing
Sure.
up.
Sure. Misidentification, kind of like
Exactly.
UFOs. Misidentification. Maybe 5% of that 10,000 is legitimate.
Yeah, or unexplained,
or just faked.
Yeah. Now, over
Somebody lying.
1/3 of the sightings come from the Pacific Northwest of both countries, right?
Right.
According to Bigfoot field researchers,
Right.
BFRO, right? Am I saying that right? BFRO?
Bigfoot.
Bifro?
Yeah. Field researchers renegade. Yeah. Beefro,
Yeah.
man.
Like
Beefro.
database of sightings, right?
Mhm.
Texas has about 800 reported sightings.
Which
or
makes no
encounters.
sense.
No, because you don't
Isn't
think
Texas
of
hot?
Texas as like wooded.
Well, I don't think all
assuming
of
they
Texas
probably
is
do.
hot. So maybe. Okay.
But then like Pennsylvania has around 1,300, which kind of makes sense.
Right.
Anyways.
Sure.
Washington and Oregon have a combined 3,000.
Makes the most sense, I think.
Yeah, that's real. That's known for being like thickly wooded areas. You know?
Right.
Surprisingly enough, New York has 1,000.
The Adirondacks are big Bigfoot sighting location, man.
And I don't know why I didn't think about that, but it just surprised.
Well, you think New York, you think
that.
New York City.
Yeah.
You think like the whole fucking
we're
state
from,
is a giant city.
Yeah, that's where we're from.
It's 90%. It's not. It's 90% country, dude. Like
Yeah, yeah. It's
it's
like
most of it is country.
people hear New York and automatically think
Yeah.
metropolis.
There's
They
like
don't
four
think,
big cities. There's New
yeah,
York, there's Albany, there's Buffalo, and like Syracuse, and like that is fucking it.
yeah, and even Buffalo and Syracuse are pretty surrounded by woods anyway. So they're
Surrounded by
not
woods, yeah. So
like a lot of woods too.
right.
And California wraps up the top hot spots with 1,600 reported sightings.
Also making sense. Probably Northern California.
Yeah,
Yeah.
more than likely. So you
Heading
got
towards the Washington, Oregon
so you talk about
area.
like the upper part of the country,
Right.
where the Adirondacks are, and
Mm-hmm.
up that way
Well, the
is where you
mountains.
really
Mountains and
exactly.
woods. Yeah.
Now, whether this creature is real, it may never actually be proven. Yeah, like we
Without a body,
truly
without
a
either a
body.
living specimen or like a verified
Yeah,
dead body,
but
it
like
never will
with
be.
that many sightings, it's kind of like the same thing with ghosts. It's hard to believe it doesn't exist. You got so many people
Yeah.
saying everybody would have to be lying. I've said that several times on this show.
Yeah,
Everybody would
I
have
say
to
the same
be
thing about
lying.
ghosts and aliens. Like, in order for it not to be real or something to it, every person would have to be a liar. Every photo would have to be faked. Every video would have to be faked
Every
or
EVP,
misidentified. Yeah, like
yeah,
all of them.
everybody would have to be lying.
Yeah, that's a very low.
Whether they know it or not, they'd have to be lying.
Whether they're willingly or unwillingly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everything would have to be wrong.
right.
So like you can't mark all these sightings up as misidentifications.
Sure,
Something has to be that out there.
I agree.
Might not be Bigfoot. Maybe it's a different, this weird bear or something.
Right,
It's
you've never seen
keeps
before,
getting. No one stops to check it because it kind of looks like a brown bear or kind of
like
looks
a
like a black
hybrid,
bear.
yeah, or
Yeah.
something.
So I mean, there's something to be said for that too. It's just the pure. It's not one person out in East Bumfuck saying they saw it.
No, it's
There's all
credible people.
kinds of people saying they've seen it.
Yep.
Exactly. That's where I was going. Yeah, you've had doctors and policemen and your regular old folk saying it too. It's not just the crazy ones out
right.
there. But for now, yeah, I choose to believe that Bigfoot is real.
I think that's the stance of the show.
Yeah.
Bigfoot is real.
Yeah.
That's the stance we're
at
going
least
to take.
for now. Like you'd really have to find like a whole group of people who've been orchestrating this.
Sure.
To keep it
alive.
alive.
Sort of like international conspiracy
conglomerate. Like the Bigfoot Illuminati.
Like pretty
kind of to get it to be like, but for right now, I'm going to choose to believe that Bigfoot is out there.
Me too.
Yeah, but along with his friends, the Easter Bunny, Santa Claus,
yeah,
Optimus Prime,
yeah,
and Alex Jones.
Yeah, Alex Jones is a conspiracy all the most... for sure. There's no way that guy is real.
No,
God bless him. I fucking love Alex Jones. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what anybody says. That is one of the most entertaining men ever to watch, ever in history.
He's the one that was saying like they're turning the frogs gay.
And they added, what's funny is that they found out that like there's some certain chemicals they've been like they're being added to the water and stuff like that was making that happen. That they were like changing genders and stuff like that. It was craziness, man. Like that got proven true.
It's still just
he's
funny.
Right more than you want to believe he is.
It's just funny the way he chooses to say shit.
The way he says it's the way he says it. Yeah.
He gets so mad, like he looks like a tomato.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, it's great. I'll watch anything with him on it. Anything. It's pure entertainment, man. Pure. Yeah. Like I said, a lot of the stuff that he says is accurate, man. Or it comes true eventually.
For sure. Like, yeah, he's been right a lot.
Either he knows what he's talking about, or he's the luckiest fucking dude ever.
Yeah, he's just real good at like putting random words together.
Well, I mean, the think that dude like doesn't have fans in like the FBI or the CIA or some sort of like government agency is ludicrous. Because he is an entertaining person. Yeah, I'm sure there are fans of him that will gladly give him information in those organizations
who go out of their way to get it too.
Exactly right.
But then you have the whistleblowers on top of that who know full well that Alex Jones is going to scream from the rooftops about it.
Right.
All I got to do is kind of feed him some breadcrumbs and
he'll do the rest.
He's off to the races. Exactly.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, that's Bigfoot.
Yep.
But we're happy to be back. Thanks for joining us. Follow us on the Instagram, the Facebook, the YouTubes at Discount Paranormal. As always, we love you. We'll catch you next week.
See y'all later.
Bye.